Don't you dare close this video. Because if you do, you are making a conscious choice to spend the rest of your life staying inside the spiritual prison your enemies built specifically for you. I am not here to accommodate your comfort, and I am not here to stroke your ego. I am here as a direct enforcement officer of the High Court of Heaven because God did not call you to look at a small phone screen and cry yourself to sleep every night. He did not code your DNA for you to sit in the dark, scrolling through the synthetic successes of others while your own destiny is being starved of oxygen. He called you to rule. He called you to govern. He called you to dominate the sphere of influence that has your name written on it in the Lamb's Book of Life. But right now, you are living like an exile in your own kingdom, and tonight, that illegal occupation is coming to a violent, systematic end. Your borders are being violently shifted by the hand of the Almighty, and your oppressors are being forcefully evicted from your territory as we speak. If you click away from this transmission right now, do not complain when the walls of scarcity close in on you tomorrow. Do not cry out to the heavens wondering why the ceiling of limitation stays intact over your head. If you leave, you are giving your legal consent to the architects of scarcity to keep your boundaries small. You are telling the demonic land grabbers who have restricted your finances, your health, and your family line that they have the right to keep you in a state of perpetual containment. But if you stand your ground, if you allow this frequency to completely shatter the slave mindset that has been programmed into your subconscious, you will witness the most aggressive territorial realignment in human history. The invisible hand is stepping into your atmosphere to execute an immediate border eviction. Do not be fooled into thinking that your current limitations are a natural accident. The smallness of your bank account, the restriction on your career, and the invisible barrier that prevents you from breaking into true wealth, these are not failures of your intellect or your location. These are the physical markers of an illegal fence that your adversaries erected while you were distracted by the simple battle for survival. They wanted you to believe that this small, restricted life was all you were ever meant to have. They wanted you to get comfortable living in the crumbs of the Commonwealth. But the sovereign ruler of the universe has just issued a territorial mandate. Heaven is declaring that the space you are currently occupying is entirely too small for the weight of glory you are carrying. The fence is being torn down by a celestial bulldozer, and the people who built it are fleeing in absolute terror. I have seen the whispers you could not hear. I heard the guardians of the boundary meeting in the dark, plotting how they would keep your family line from ever buying property, how they would keep your business from ever expanding past local survival, and how they would ensure you died in the same economic bracket you were born into. They were laughing at your prayers, claiming that your bloodline was legally bound to the frequency of the tenant, always paying someone else, always answering to a master, always asking for permission to exist. But tonight, their contracts are being shredded in the spiritual realm. God is entering your territory not as a guest, but as an eviction force. He is physically removing the spiritual squatters who have been living off the fat of your land while you starved on the porch. Do not get fooled by the silence of your physical room right now. The atmosphere around you is currently experiencing an unprecedented level of spiritual turbulence. That shaking you feel in your spirit is the sound of your borders being extended. It is the sound of the enemy security system being completely dismantled by the sovereign audit. In the United States, you are conditioned to accept whatever boundaries the system hands you. You are told to stay in your lane, to respect the corporate ladder, and to live within your means. But I am here to interrupt that slave protocol. God is about to give you a territory that you did not have to work 20 years to qualify for. He is moving you into an enlarged estate where your voice carries the weight of an executive decree. I saw the secret meetings where your name was brought up by the distributors of lack. They had marked your coordinates as a permanent zone of struggle. They had decided that you would never own the land, that you would never sign the major contracts, and that you would always be dependent on their systems for your daily bread. But the border eviction has completely compromised their database. The invisible hand is moving the boundary lines while they are sleeping. When you wake up tomorrow morning, you will feel a sudden, unexplainable sense of territorial authority. You will look at the things that used to terrify you, and you will see them as small, insignificant bugs that have no legal right to stand on your property. The oppressors are being forced to pack up their bags and leave your health, leave your children, and leave your mind. The anxiety that has been occupying your mental space for the last 5 years? It is being evicted tonight. The spirit of debt that has been sleeping in your living room? It is being dragged out by the angels of restoration. You are no longer a refugee begging for shelter in a world controlled by your adversaries. You are the original owner returning to claim the inheritance that was bought and paid for by the blood of the covenant. The enlargement is non-negotiable. The shift is violent because the enemy will not leave willingly until he is met with a higher power. Tonight, that power is being deployed directly to your address. Do not be fooled. This is the 0 hour of your relocation. If you shut down this message, you are stepping back into the cell. You are telling the spirits of limitation that they were right about you, that you are too cowardly to handle the vastness of the kingdom. But if you lock eyes with this truth, if you let this aggressive word sink into the marrow of your bones, you are signing the eviction notice. You are telling every oppressor that their lease on your life has officially expired. The boundary lines are falling in pleasant places for you. The territory is opening up. The small phone screen is no longer your boundary. The entire kingdom is your playground. Stand up, brace yourself, and prepare for the violent shift. The fence is broken. The squatters are fleeing. The divine relocation is live. You are safe in the expansion of the sovereign. You are secure in the territory of the king. The prison is destroyed. The rule is eternal. While you are sitting there processing the raw intensity of the border shift, an administrative revolution is taking place in the unseen realm that will completely rewrite the material reality of your life. I am here to pull back the curtain on the quiet, devastating precision of the invisible hand. Right now, while your natural mind is trying to calculate how a breakthrough is even possible, God is operating in the background, deep within the legal archives of your destiny. He is physically removing the old, fraudulent paperwork of your existence. He is shredding the spiritual leases of limitation, the predatory contracts of debt, and the low-level positional agreements that have kept you bound to the basement of life. In their place, He is installing an unshakable, eternal deed of ownership. Do not be fooled by the current layout of your life. You look around your room, you look at your current job title, you look at your bank statements, and your natural senses tell you that you are a tenant. They tell you that you are a temporary occupant in a world owned by someone else, constantly paying interest, constantly answering to a landlord, constantly bowing to a boss who doesn't appreciate your value, and always living at the mercy of another person's signature. But I am here to interrupt that psychological conditioning. The invisible hand is executing a shift that is so deep, so permanent, that it cannot be classified as a mere promotion. A promotion is just a temporary upgrade in a system someone else owns. What you are experiencing tonight is a land shift. God is changing your legal status from a renter to a sovereign landlord. I have seen the whispers you could not hear. I heard the spirits of hereditary subservience whispering into your lineage, claiming that your family was meant to work the land but never own it. They boasted that your bloodline was permanently locked into the frequency of the employee, destined to build other people's empires while your own house remained in ruins. They pointed to the unpaid bills and the rental agreements as legal proof that you belonged to the class of the dependent. But the High Court of Heaven has invalidated their evidence. The invisible hand is rewriting the cosmic ledger. When you wake up tomorrow morning, you will not just be a slightly wealthier version of your old self. you will be an authenticated owner. Do not get fooled into looking for normal, slow, natural progressions. Tomorrow morning, when your eyes open and you step into the natural world, a piece of news is going to collide with your timeline. It will come through an unexpected email, an unprecedented phone call, or a sudden legal notification that will leave your natural mind completely disoriented. This news will not be a minor blessing, it will be the physical manifestation of the new deed. It will be an offer, a contract, or a positioning that instantly alters your status in the market. It will be the universe recognizing that you are no longer a tenant begging for a lease renewal, but a sovereign stakeholder who commands the ground they stand on. The paperwork of lack has been burned. The title deed of sovereignty has been signed in the ink of grace. I saw the secret meetings of the systemic gatekeepers. They had already prepared the paperwork to keep you in your place for the next 5 years. They had already calculated how much they could extract from your labor while giving you the bare minimum to survive. They thought they had you locked into a lease of suppression. But the invisible hand has infiltrated their archives. He has swapped the documents. The old terms are null and void. The new terms state that you own the field. You are moving from the position of a laborer to the position of the lair of all things. In the United States, you are taught that you must spend a lifetime accumulation of debt just to own a fraction of a brick-mortar house. But I am interrupting that economic slavery. There is a sovereign asset relocation happening right now. The invisible hand is transferring the titles of properties, the signatures of contracts, and the authority of positions from the hands of the wicked straight into the hands of the justified. This is the end of the lease. You are no longer paying rent to a system that hates your spirit. You are collecting the dividends of a kingdom that has backed your backing. I have seen the whispers you could not hear, and I am deleting them with the authority of the title deed. The enemy thought he could keep you small by keeping you in a state of financial subleasing. He thought if you had to ask for permission for everything, you would eventually forget your royal identity. But the deed of ownership has just been stamped by the creator of all wealth. The anxiety of the tenant who fears eviction is being extinguished by the confidence of the owner who knows they cannot be moved. Tomorrow, you will walk with a different posture because you will know that the ground beneath your feet doesn't belong to the bank, it belongs to the king and his heir. Do not be fooled. This is not a financial strategy. This is spiritual restructuring. You are being relocated to the penthouse of dominion. The old papers that said denied, overdue, or temporary have been purged from the system. The new papers are loading into your natural experience as approved, paid in full, and owned forever. The counterfeit status is exiting. The original ownership is occupying. The deed is signed. The land shift is executed. The ownership status is absolute. You are moved from paying the price to owning the property. The tenant mindset is exterminated. The owner authority is final. I saw the secret meetings where they planned your next financial collapse, but the invisible hand has already placed the deed of protection over your accounts. The wealth that is coming to you tomorrow morning is not liquid capital that can wash away, it is generational land that is anchored in the covenant. You are moved from fragile speculation to solid ownership. The title is yours. Your position is unlocked. Your new reality is live. You are secure in the deed of the Almighty. There is a divine equation in the economy of the Spirit that states your expansion will be directly proportional to the oppression you have endured. The very force that was used to push you down is now being inverted to propel you upward into the enlargement surge. I am here to build an ironclad certainty in your spirit tonight. The days of your contraction are over. Every single instance where you were squeezed, restricted, minimized, and forced to fit into a space that was entirely too small for your mantle was not an accident of fate. It was the pulling back of the divine bowstring. The lower the enemy tried to drag you, the higher the invisible hand is about to launch you into your true territory. God is not just restoring what you lost in those tight spaces, He is giving you a realm of influence that is 10 times larger than anything you have ever occupied. Do not be fooled by the size of the room you are sitting in right now. In the United States, you are conditioned to measure your potential by your current physical enclosure, your tight budget, and the narrow margins of your daily routine. But I am interrupting that optical illusion. The invisible hand is currently initiating a space explosion within your destiny blueprint. The individuals who tried to cage you, the systems that attempted to keep you locked in a cotisage, a microscopic, low-level mentality of lack and small-scale thinking, are about to experience absolute, paralyzing shock. They spent years trying to measure you for a coffin of mediocrity, but tomorrow they will have to look up into the clouds just to see the silhouette of your surplus. They will watch you overflow from the very borders they tried to construct around your name. I have seen the whispers you could not hear. I heard the architects of containment consulting one another, saying, "We have successfully kept them in the corner. They don't have the capital to expand. They don't have the connections to step onto the main stage. They will remain an isolated case of survival." They were celebrating your restriction, thinking that the walls of their little prison would hold your immense potential forever. But the High Court of Heaven has laughed their calculations to scorn. God is issuing an enlargement mandate. He is not merely expanding your current borders, He is giving you a 10x platform and an instantaneous upgrade in your internal capacity. He is widening your steps so that your feet will never slip on the narrow pathways of lack again. Do not get fooled into trying to adjust your current lifestyle by increments of 5 or 10%. Incremental growth is the methodology of the world, but the enlargement surge is a sovereign anomaly. When the invisible hand steps in, He multiplies your territory exponentially. You are being gifted with a massive capacity to handle wealth, influence, and structural power that would have crushed the old version of you. The tightness you felt in your chest for the past several years was actually your spirit screaming against the artificial limitations of your environment. You are a giant trying to sleep in a crib. Tonight, the crib is being smashed to pieces. The invisible hand is dragging you out into the wide-open spaces of kingdom abundance. I saw the secret meetings of the gatekeepers of the small stage. They had allocated a tiny, insignificant corner for you in your industry, in your family, and in your community. They had decided exactly how much money you were allowed to make, exactly how far your voice was allowed to travel, and exactly when you were supposed to stop growing. But the enlargement surge has completely overblown their security system. God is bypassing their regulatory boards. He is lifting you above their glass ceilings and planting your feet on a high-altitude platform where their arrows of criticism can no longer reach you. You are moved from the background of the battle to the center stage of the conquest. In the United States, you are surrounded by an atmosphere that tells you to be grateful for the bare minimum, to accept the crumbs of the system, and to never ask for too much space. But I am commanding a sovereign expansion of your desires and your expectations. If you continue to think small after this transmission, you are committing a spiritual felony against your own bloodline. The invisible hand is pouring a massive, liquid supply of capital, vision, and strategic positioning into your life that requires a 10x vessel to hold it. You must expand your capacity to receive before the sunrise. Stop looking at your history to determine your territory. Your history belongs to the tenant, but your territory belongs to the owner. I have seen the whispers you could not hear, and I am deleting them with the vibration of the sovereign surge. The enemy thought he could permanently stunt your growth by starving you of opportunities, by ensuring that every door you knocked on remained locked, and by isolating you from the circles of wealth. But he didn't realize that the isolation was actually a compression chamber. The pressure has built up to an explosive level, and tonight, the valve is being opened. You are exploding into sovereign visibility. The very people who look down on you will now have to look up to you, not out of malice, but out of sheer acknowledgement of the divine surplus that covers your life. Do not be fooled. This enlargement will cause an immediate separation between you and those who are committed to a life of smallness. They will call you arrogant, they will say you have changed, but the truth is that you have simply outgrown the cage. You can no longer breathe in the oxygen of their complaints. You are moved from squeezed survival to vast domain. The invisible hand is stretching your cords, strengthening your stakes, and authorizing an infinite border shift. The surge is live. The capacity is upgraded. The 10x platform is occupying. You are moved from a narrow lane to a sovereign expressway. The restriction is exterminated. The enlargement is final. I saw the secret meetings where they written you off as a permanent casualty of your circumstances, but the invisible hand has already torn up their reports. The space you are moving into tomorrow morning is so massive that your old enemies will look like tiny ants on the horizon of your success. You are moved from hemmed into boundless abundance. The platform is ready. Your voice is amplified. Your territory is secured. We have reached the critical 0 hour of this divine broadcast, the exact legal junction where your abstract potential must be converted into physical, tangible possession. You have heard the absolute reality of the border eviction. You have felt the deed of ownership rewriting the paperwork of your bloodline, and you have stood within the enlargement surge witnessing your capacity explode tenfold. But I am here to deliver an uncompromising sovereign ultimatum. The expansion of your borders cannot and will not be auto-installed. In the high court of heaven, there is a strict, unchanging law of verbal inhabitation. A territory is never assigned to a silent heir. It is only awarded to the one who has the spiritual audacity to vocalize their claim. To legally evict the spiritual squatters from your finances, your health, and your family, you must execute a territorial decree. Do not be fooled by the physical quietness of the room you are sitting in or the deceptive simplicity of a digital action. In the United States, you are surrounded by a watered-down, secularized culture that treats commitment as a mere suggestion and words as nothing more than empty vibrations passing through the air. But I am here to completely interrupt that modern delusion. Your voice is your spiritual boundary marker in the unseen realm. Your command is your official spiritual signature on the divine ledger of inheritance. The invisible hand is currently standing over the server of your destiny, holding the updated deed of ownership. But his movement is vast. He is waiting for you to legally authorize the land shift. If you remain a passive observer, you are effectively telling the kingdom's storehouses that you are content to let the enemy occupy your land. You are authorizing the old restrictions to keep their lease on your life. I have seen the whispers you could not hear. I heard the spirits of hesitation betting that you would remain silent. I heard the land thieves laughing in the dark, claiming that you were too timid, too broken, or too afraid of looking foolish to publicly align with this sovereign decree. They know with absolute certainty that an unasserted claim is legally void in the courts of heaven. They are banking on your passive compliance to ensure that they can keep their illegal fences around your bank accounts, your business ventures, and your children's future. They want your miracle to remain trapped in a permanent state of being pending. But I am commanding you to completely disappoint the architects of scarcity right now. You must sovereignly trigger the eviction. I am commanding you to log in to the heavenly registry immediately by typing in the comments, "Territory claimed" or "My borders are expanded." Do not get fooled. This is not a casual social media interaction designed for engagement. This is a spiritual boundary line drawn in the face of your oppressors. The moment your fingers type those words, you are performing a spiritual handover of your old limitations and signing the deed to your massive new estate. You are physically driving a stake into the spiritual ground and declaring to every generational curse, every debt-inducing spirit, and every toxic gatekeeper that their time on your property has officially expired. You are trading your crowded, restricted past for his vast domain. If you refuse to authorize this decree, you will wake up tomorrow morning locked inside the exact same narrow cage you have lived in for years. The breakthroughs you desperately need will stay frozen in the heavenly archives because the heir refused to sign the contract. I saw the secret meetings of the divine land registrars. They are standing at absolute attention right now, waiting for the precise frequency of your response. They cannot release the resources, the real estate, and the global connections of the original blueprint into a life that refuses to clear out the counterfeit fence. Your public declaration is the absolute eviction order against the squatters. When you type territory claimed, you are clearing the cache of your ancestral lack. You are telling every system of financial manipulation that its authority over your income is completely revoked. You are executing the sovereign will of the Father over your entire economic atmosphere. In the United States, you are trained to wait and see, to accept whatever small portion the corporate ladder or the economic system decides to hand you. But I am interrupting that passive, broken protocol. In the kingdom of God, you do not wait for the land to appear before you claim it, you claim it to materialize it. Your old comfort zone has been nothing but a gilded prison that you have accepted out of sheer habit. Tonight, you must smash the walls of that prison. You must sacrifice the false safety of your small-scale thinking for the terrifying majesty of divine expansion. I am commanding a full-scale spiritual rebellion against your current limitations. Type the word. Sign the decree. Establish the border. I have seen the whispers you could not hear, and I am deleting them right now with the roar of sovereign authority. The enemy is absolutely terrified of your activation tonight. He knows that the moment you sign that heavenly registry, his legal right to harass your harvest and restrict your growth is terminated forever. He has kept you silent for decades because a silent heir is a powerless heir. But by publicly declaring my borders are expanded, you are stepping into your true identity as a high-speed manager of the kingdom's wealth. You are dragging your case out of the enemy's court of delay and forcing an immediate release of assets. Do not be fooled. The invisible hand will never force this territory upon you against your will. He requires your active, vocal consent to shift the earth beneath your feet. This text is your spiritual login code. Without it, the enlargement surge remains a mere theory rather than a physical possession. But with it, the expansion becomes completely unstoppable. The relocation becomes irreversible. The land becomes manifest. I saw the secret meetings of the Guardians of Inheritance. They are updating your spiritual title deeds the very second you execute this command. They are erasing the debt records and installing the sovereign surplus. You are moving from leasing from the enemy to owning the field. The small life is dead the moment you authorize its exit. The immense platform is live the moment you claim its entry. The command is issued. The registry is open. The pen is in your declaration. Do not hesitate. Do not negotiate with your past. Territory claimed. Type it with the heavy authority of a ruler. My borders are expanded. Write it with the absolute certainty of an owner. You are stepping into the sanctuary of the expanded. The invisible hand has pre-approved the deed. Now you must finalize the delivery. I have seen the whispers you could not hear, and I am deleting them with the pulse of the eternal covenant. The restriction is evicted. The sovereign estate is occupied. You are safe in the authorization of the Almighty. You are secure in the territory of the King. The smallness is exiting. The grandeur of God is occupying. The decree is final. The territorial lines have been violently redrawn. The spiritual squatters have been forcefully evicted. The old leases of lack have been incinerated, and your new deed of ownership has been officially signed and logged into the heavenly registry. As I look at you now through the eyes of the Spirit, the small, weeping victim who clicked on this transmission no longer exists. You have been completely restructured. You are no longer a tenant begging for crumbs. You are an original heir established as a high authority manager over a massive, expanded domain. But hear me with absolute clarity, and let a holy, trembling fear seize your soul right now. A newly conquered territory is always the most vulnerable to a sudden, devastating counterattack. You are entering the phase of the finality, and your assignment is no longer expansion. It is the ruthless, unyielding defense of your borders. Welcome to the fortress of the air. Do not be fooled into thinking that the enemy will simply sit back and watch you enjoy this new territory without trying to steal it back. In the United States, you are surrounded by a superficial, casual spirituality that tells you that once a blessing is declared, you can just wander off, fall asleep, and live without vigilance. But I am here to interrupt that fatal delusion with a severe, chilling warning. The moment you close this video and step away from this exact frequency, the architects of containment are going to deploy their most vicious, undercover saboteurs to your coordinates. They are waiting for you to let your guard down. They are praying that you treat this divine encounter as a momentary rush of motivation rather than a permanent covenant. I am commanding you to immediately build your protection circle. This circle, this absolute commitment to lock into this channel by hitting that subscribe button, is not a casual media metric, it is your spiritual security fort. If you choose to step outside of this protection circle, if you walk away from this sanctuary thinking you can manage this massive new velocity on your own, you are committing an act of spiritual suicide. The second you disconnect from this continuous broadcast, the frequency of the world will invade your atmosphere. The enemy will immediately move back onto your land, rebuild his illegal fences, and shrink your boundaries right back to the microscopic cage you just escaped from. You will find yourself right back where you started, crying in the dark, staring at a small screen, starving for a breakthrough that you had in your hands but failed to protect. I have seen the whispers you could not hear. I see the boundary thieves standing right outside your perimeter at this very second, watching your hands. They are counting on your arrogance. They are betting that you will be too lazy, too distracted, or too prideful to lock in your subscription to this fortress. And hear me closely, it breaks my heart to tell you this, but your negligence does not just ruin your life, it deeply, profoundly grieves the heart of Almighty God. Think of the agonizing cost that was paid to buy your expansion tonight. Think of the man of sorrows, Jesus, sweating drops of blood in the dark Garden of Gethsemane, crying out in absolute agony as his own body was crushed under the weight of the ultimate restriction. He allowed himself to be bound, to be locked in a dark tomb, and to be entirely compressed by death so that you could be granted the keys to an infinite estate. How dare you treat his agony as a cheap, disposable thing? How can you look at the bleeding wounds of your Savior, who broke the clock and shattered the walls of your prison, and then walk away from his fortress because you were too careless to stay connected? When you turn your back on this protection circle, you are essentially looking up at the cross and telling Jesus that his sacrifice wasn't worth your commitment. You are making God himself look at your life with a heavy, sorrowful disappointment, watching his child willingly hand the keys of the kingdom back to the very demons that tortured their bloodline. Do not make him withdraw his hand of protection from your house. Do not force the Spirit of grace to depart from your borders because you treated his holy covenant like a common game. Do not get fooled. This is your final ultimatum. This channel is your digital altarpiece of momentum, the precise fuel station where you are legally required to check in every single night to receive your daily territorial updates. These nightly briefings are the only things that will instruct your new DNA on how to govern the wealth, the opportunities, and the massive platforms that are collapsing into your life over the next 10 days. By hitting that subscribe button and activating your notification bell, you are not just watching a video, you are arming the laser security system of heaven around your bank accounts, your health, and your family. You are vandalizing the enemy's last hope of reclaiming your territory. You are sealing the walls of the fortress. I saw the secret meetings of the gatekeepers of lack. They are standing there with smirks on their faces, whispering, "Just wait." They will watch, they will feel powerful for an hour, but they won't lock in the connection. They will walk away, and by midnight, we will reoccupy their mind with anxiety and take back every single inch of land they claimed. I am commanding a full-scale spiritual riot against their malicious expectations. Do not let them win. Do not let them mock the tears of Christ. Hit the button. Lock the circle. Stand inside the fortress and refuse to move. As we seal this sovereign session, look at the weeping, bleeding king who holds your phone in his hands in the spirit realm. He is looking at you through the tears of the ultimate sacrifice, whispering, "I gave up everything so you could own this ground. Do not walk away from me. Stay in the circle. Protect what I bought for you." Walk out of this moment with the heavy, terrifying majesty of a ruler who knows they are guarded by the armies of the Lord. You are safe inside the fortress of the air. You are secure in the covenant of the King. The small life is permanently exterminated. The vast domain is Hameshakeh occupied. The circle is locked. The fortress is armed. The subscription is your shield. Do not grieve the Father. Do not betray the Son. Stay connected, stay sovereign, and stay alive. The lease is dead. The tenant is gone. The owner is seated forever.